My life was saved by a terrorist. In 2005, my partner and I were about to be killed by 40 terrorists when one of those terrorists stepped in and saved my life. Hi, I'm Paul Nadeau. I was a police officer for 31 and a half years. And as a police officer, I worked as a hostage negotiator, international peacekeeper, and a detective in the sexual assault and child abuse unit. One of the greatest lessons that I ever learned was that treating others with dignity and respect equals reward. Before we walk in for a negotiation, before we walk in to deal with an employee, to deal with a client, to deal with someone who is going through some difficulty, how many of us actually decide to put ourselves in the shoes of the other? I was deployed to Jordan in 2005 as a peacekeeper. My job was initially to train Iraqi police cadets. And the first thing that I would say to them was that I was there to treat them with dignity and respect. Now, some of those cadets in that classroom were terrorists, unbeknownst to me, but I still treated everybody in the same way. And one morning, we were walking through the desert on our way to our office when we were surrounded by 40 armed insurgents, who then began to beat the life out of us. In the middle of the desert, while I was being beaten, one man shouted my name, Mr. Paul, Mr. Paul, Mr. Paul. And he put a stop to that attack. And when I finally gained consciousness and my focus, I looked around to see who that person was, and it was one of my prior students. Maybe you're going to look at that terrorist as being your worst client, someone who wants to do you harm. Maybe it's a situation that needs to be addressed, and to you that terrorist is that fear. But if you treat that person by first trying to understand them, it's going to be mind-blowing. The person sitting across from you is more like you than they are different. And once we begin to recognize that, we begin to succeed. I wrote a book for people who are dealing with adversity, and that's just about every one of us. People who deal with self-doubt. And this is the book. It's called Take Control of Your Life. It's now an acclaimed book. So for anyone here on LinkedIn who comments on this video, but not only comments, tell me a story of how treating others with dignity and respect, be it at work or at home, changed your circumstance for the better. Tell me one of those stories, share the video, and I will pick 2 people and send 2 copies of my book out to you. Now, I have been receiving a lot of inquiries about my keynote speaking on the topics of negotiations, conflict resolution, and mental health. So if you would like me to speak at one of your events, please direct message me right here on LinkedIn. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and let's make it happen.